Welcome. This is David Bowles, Human Meme. Today's topic, canned food and the food desert. I was raised in an age in the 1970s and the early 1980s when kids pretty much had to fend for themselves when it came to food and getting fed. Parents were working, latchkey kids ruled the neighborhoods, and the summers were long and the winters sweet. Homemade dinners, sit-down dinners with the family were not really a thing anymore back then. And if you wanted to eat and you were hungry and you were a kid, you learned to cook it yourself with a microwave, a new thing back then. Or you bought your food already made for you. Or, better yet, you tried to get some fast food somewhere if you had a ride, a bike or somebody's car, all in an effort to try to repress your hunger. So, back then, and ever since, I quickly became a consumer of canned goods. Not fresh foods. They go rotten rather quickly. Not frozen foods, because that takes up a lot of freezer space. And my family would shop for food at the grocery store about once a month, and it was up to me to stock up on my cans of food if I didn't want to go hungry for the next 30 days. And don't knock me for my canned food love. A can of beans can feed you all day. It can fit anywhere. A can can fit in a cupboard, a drawer, up your butt, in your shower, even in your car. And the canned food is safe and it lasts forever, or pretty much forever. And oh, I know in some circles eating canned food and not freshly prepared food by a chef is a sign of the apocalypse. Only the poor and those with bad taste and the doomsday prepper dare to eat food from cans, or so the elite story goes. And not only do I find that sort of thinking unfortunate and short-sighted, it's also just a little bit bigoted. And sure, if you're economically stable and you have food you can afford, the best possible food, the freshest imaginable food money can buy, well, then canned foods are not for you, not very appealing. But for the rest of us, and for our food banks, having a safe and stable source of food to keep you alive is more valuable than a nugget of gold. And you only know that if you've been hungry in your life. And our conversation about food security and canned foods leads us to talking about food deserts. We've talked about that before here in your favorite Human Meme podcast. Food deserts, if you don't know, are found pretty much in the urban core, where there are not grocery stores, and where the corner bodega or the Quickie Mart serves as restaurant, fast food stop, grocery store for the community. And in a food desert, there's no fresh food available. There's prepackaged food, food in boxes, maybe a frozen dinner, a lot of canned food, and that's about it. So without a reliable source of cookable food, residents in this food desert pretty much have to turn to the dollar menu and such if they want hot food. And that is where their eating habits, will slowly kill them and get poisoned, stunting the intellectual and physical growth of their children in the process. And as a beloved child of the 1970s, I was raised on fast food and instant noodles and frozen pizzas. And fortunately, pizza pockets and pizza rolls were not really a thing yet back then, or I would have been a daily connoisseur. But my dessert, not my food desert, my dessert was the always reliable chocolate Kudos granola bar. Yes, a seemingly healthy granola bar covered in dark chocolate. And I lived on that undeniable convenience of the convergence of food and hunger. And I was probably being killed by too much salt and an overabundance of fat. But, my human being friend, what choice did I have? What choice do we have if we are poor and starving and without a reliable mode of transportation? There was no Amazon delivery back then. If you wanted something, you had to get on your own 2 feet and go out and find it. Do we take the government cheese if offered? Or do we dumpster dive? Do we beg for a handout on the street corner from a local charity? There is a certain amount of loss of pride in being hungry, especially if you are a child. And to ask for help to get food is a big step for many that cannot be avoided when the hunger pangs strike. And the USA is a bountiful nation. We can all eat healthy and well if we, the people, decided we didn't want anyone in America to go hungry at night. But we aren't there yet. Too many of us see hunger as a source for mockery and not as a signal of desperation. Nobody wants to purposefully starve themselves or their children. Not one person intentionally wants to go hungry. And our public schools have helped our generational hungerings under the guise of education, where we are able to feed hungry kids throughout the day, breakfast and lunch. And that has been a blessing for hundreds of thousands of families over the years who are struggling to make it in an ever-shrinking world where wealth is measured in the billions and not the hundreds of the bi-weekly paycheck. Racism, income inequality, gender bias, they're all important and tough national questions with dire consequences for the wrong answer. But the health of the people is a right, and it is the constitutional duty of our government to provide for the public welfare. And hey, if you don't believe me, it's written right there in the preamble to the United States Constitution.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
So yes, my human being friend, promote the general welfare includes feeding people and providing health care. And if that phrase in the Constitution doesn't mean anything like that, then what does it mean? So like it or not, we are constitutionally bound to take care of each other. And that isn't a bad thing. But it is sort of too bad that, due to human nature, our founding fathers way back when knew they had to put that caveat, that instruction, in our Constitution. That demand that we care for each other, that we promote the general welfare. Because they knew, our founding fathers knew, it was just too easy to disenfranchise those of us on the outside, the minority, and those who are not actively vested in the machinations of politics. Our founders wanted everyone protected. Everybody. Every body is to be provided for. And that is part of what makes the United States united. So the next time you crack open a can of beans, think of your Constitution. And please know that cracking sound you hear is the rushing of freedom into the room. Freedom rushing in a wave of goodness and health as a cudgel against despair. We are in this life together, and we must be ready to fight against those who do not care for us, and against those who want to take away what we covet. And the inherent value we find in each other is what makes us more than just a government or a city or a community on the hill. It makes us one. It makes us each other. Thank you for listening. Be a Human meme.